This is Miranda Nahmias, and I'm here today for the third episode of our Woahpreneur interviews. These are inspirational stories and tips and advice from other entrepreneurs. So today we have Angela, and she has a super awesome, really inspirational story that I can't wait to share with you guys. So Angela, if you could introduce yourself for everybody.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me, Miranda. And I am Angela Wills, and my business is the Laptop Lifestyle Business Club. I got started online when my son was 4 months old, and I have been working online since 2007. So I started when he was 4. It took me a few years to figure things out. I quit in 2007 to become a virtual assistant, and now I help other people live their lives and their businesses with freedom. So that's my focus. I'm always looking for ways to share how to create more passive and recurring income in your business.
Yes, awesome. I love passive income.
Yes.
All right. So speaking of your story, I do want to just dive into it a little bit because it's pretty crazy how you went from you were working night shift at a factory, and then you quit your job and you became a VA, and now you're like this awesome coach and you run this membership. Tell me about a bit about what that process was like and how you kind of discovered online work, and how is it different from what it used to be like?
Yeah. Oh, so much difference from today and when I first got started. But like I said, my son was 4 months old. I was working. So when I very, very first started, I had like a career. I had gone to college for chemical engineering technology.
Oh, wow.
So it was a totally different topic from internet marketing. But even when I was in high school, preparing to go, there was no online business that you could start at that point. So I didn't know, the future and where I could go at that point when I decided to go to college and university and, check out my options there. And so he was 4 months old, and I did have a career in chemical engineering, but I didn't want to go back. And I was on maternity, and I just did not want to go back to work. Like, he was my motivation. He was my why. We always say you need to have a why. He was my why. He was 4 months old. I started a business. From my college days, I had made soap. And so I was like a homemade soap hobbyist. I know that's my story is so varied and vast in terms of what I've done. But I was a soap hobbyist. I started a business. I partnered with my dad. We got into production. We got into retail. We got into wholesale. We got into home parties. We were attacking it from all angles, which, by the way, I don't recommend. It's good to focus. We learned a lot. And then, I eventually did go back and get a job. I got a job close to home, and it was a factory job, afternoon shift, so I could see my son in the morning. My mom could watch him in the afternoon. And during that period, from starting my first business to working in the factory, I was then throughout that time became a single mom. And so I was a single mom working at a factory, hating my job. And it was car parts. They painted car bumpers, and they went through, and once a year or twice a year, the plant shut down, and we had to go in the ovens, and they were huge, and they were gross, and they were gunky, and I was scraping out the ovens, and I'm like, no, not doing this again. Oh my gosh. Not doing this again anymore. And I was just so determined. So I had to find a way, because from the period he was 4 months old to the period I was in the factory was a few years, and I had tried various things. I'm not going to run through them all because there's a few. And then finally, a friend in a membership group, because I'm big proponent of membership sites and groups, communities of other people doing the same thing. It's why I started mine, because I was in one. And a friend in that group who I'd known, over those years since I started that business, was doing virtual assistants. And so she said she was actually going to quit virtual assistants and stop taking hours, getting dollars for hours. Yeah. And I said, I would like to get dollars for hours doing something I love, because I love, from the first business I started, e-commerce site that's bath and body business. And from that time till the time I was in the factory, I learned a lot. I loved it. I loved all the pieces, the building the email list and all of the, making sales pages and all that stuff. So I finally determined to find a way, and I did. And from the time I was in that oven, and I was crying. Like I was like so upset that this was my life at that point. And I know that's not, mindset wise, it's not a good place to go to try to improve your life, but that's where I was. And within 9 months, I quit to become a virtual assistant working from home full time. And that was 2007. It's been over 10 years. So,
wow, that's so awesome. And I love that. I mean, you say it like it wasn't a good mindset, but like that really was like this thing that made you want to make this change, and you did it. So like, I mean, yeah, that sounds really horrible, but it's so awesome that you were able to like actually make it happen and get out of that.
Yeah, that is so true. It's like hitting this point where you're like, no more. And so, yeah, while sometimes you got to keep the positive mindset, that actually was the negative mindset that made me say, okay, here's the positive mindset. Like, here's the turnaround to that. That is my determination to, next time this factory shuts down, I'm not going to be here. So yeah, that's so good. Part of my story.
So one of the things that you mentioned is that you're really passionate about creating a business or helping other people create businesses that really fit their lifestyle versus the other way around. Can you tell us about like how you've done that and how you've helped others?
For sure. Yeah. So important, because when I did quit my job back in 2007, as I said, I wanted, dollars for hours. I just took any clients, and I had some great ones. I had some really great ones, but I also took on, a lot of clients who didn't really kind of respect my time, and I was just working from morning till night, and some clients were messaging me at midnight or 5 a.m., kind of wanting me to do stuff. And so I determined at that point that I didn't want to have a business like that, and I wanted more freedom. I wanted to make sure I had my days free and my calendar free. So it took a number of years, but I decided to focus on passive income. So for me, that looks a lot like creating products. In 2008, I created a little graphics training, and it kind of took off because there was, talking about how things are different back then from today. There was no like online graphics editor that does almost everything. So there was either Photoshop or there was
no Canva. Yeah.
No, there was no Canva. There was one called Picnic that came out a few years later, but it was really like in the beginning stages of like being able to replace the software that we had.
Oh my gosh, I remember Picnic.
I loved Picnic because, it was the start of what is now Canva and PicMonkey. I use PicMonkey, but Canva and PicMonkey very similar, right?
Yeah.
So I taught that training course, and so that looks very different back then. And I helped people with GIMP. I don't do that anymore because you don't need to. But then I started teaching WordPress, and so now I've moved away from that, and I'm just, I'm mostly focused on teaching people to create their own courses and use things like affiliate marketing, get into good affiliate marketing programs where there's, cookies that can give you credit for a customer that you have sent them like a year ago who might still buy, or recurring. So I love passive. My favorite passive is recurring passive, because then you get like you've sent someone a customer and then they just keep paying you. And I do that with my program, and there's a lot of programs who do that. How I help people is just support them in that, support them in creating a vision for their lifestyle that they want, and then designing the business. Because you can, the business I created as a virtual assistant, and this is for service businesses too, you can absolutely have clients and still have like a freedom-based lifestyle. You can absolutely decide, who you want to work for, what kind of work you want to do, when you're working on it. And that's what I focus on for my service business clients and customers. And then we add in, all the extra fun stuff that you can earn when you go to bed. And so instead of your clients messaging you at 5 a.m. to do the work, you might get a payment at 5 a.m. So that's a nice thing.
I definitely think that's a good point, that like it's passive income isn't the only way to do it, but there's also a way to kind of bring that in a little bit. So you have somewhat of that passive income to be kind of like that buffer income you're getting every month, but then also like create your service-based business in a way where like clients aren't emailing you at 5 in the morning. Like you totally can do that. And it's not like either or like, I don't know. I just think there's a way that you can create a better service-based business that works better for your lifestyle.
I completely agree. And like I quit services in 2012, but I'm not like a full out service provider. So that's not like where my mission or like my
Yeah.
passion, I guess is the right word. It wasn't my passion to build that business. Like I said, it got me out of the factory work, but still at the same time, I love working with clients. So while I quit in 2012, I then reincorporated back in with coaching, and
Right.
occasionally I did like a website setup for people because I felt like giving them like the boost that way. So there's definitely a way. And I think it also, as a service provider, if you do decide to transition into coaching, like group coaching or product creation, it's really good to keep services, because then you keep on the pulse of what's going on in the industry with your clients.
Another thing I wanted to talk about, which you mentioned, was that something that's important when you're building your business and growing your business is determination. And this is something that I teach as well. It's like, I think I have this blog post that's like the 3 things you need to be successful. And one of them is determination. And all the time, I mean, I even feel like it could be like just that one thing almost. Like you just need that determination. So I'd love for you to talk about like maybe an experience that you've had in your life where determination helped you, or like tips on how people can become more determined or motivated.
Yeah, it's so key. It is so key. And it's so funny that you asked me this. I think that I'm just one of those determined people, like from a child. And I was thinking about this morning because my mom told me they have this like little table. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and they have a table at their house that was mine when I was a kid. And it was a Christmas gift, but my dad is terrible at Christmas gifts. He wants to give them before Christmas, right? Like they buy them and then give them. And he wanted to show me as like a kid, her age, the table before Christmas. And so they showed it to me and then tried to hide it. And I was like, so determined to have that. So they gave it to me. Anyway, that's a story they told me. And I was thinking of that this morning, but I think, if you can think of when you're a kid, there's no learning to be determined, right? I think we
Yeah.
just kind of unlearn it at some point because we think we can't have stuff. But if you just think of how you were as a kid, you were probably as determined as I was to have my little table. And, that would be probably my best advice on how to be more determined. Just believe that you can have it. As a kid, there was no doubt in my
I
mind that
love
they were
that.
going to give me that table. Right? I am getting that table. And so I knew it was possible when I did quit my job in the factory. And that's why I was sitting in that thing crying, because I was in this group where I had friends who were doing it. That's where my determination came in. It just came from knowing it.
Yeah. And I really think that that's a great analogy, or like when you're a kid, that determination, I don't know what happens to us where we lose that just like sheer like conviction that everything is ours. We know that we can have whatever we want when we're a kid, and then somewhere along the way we got like, I don't know, beaten down by life to the point where like we don't think we can have
Mhm.
anything. And I love that, just like kind of try to go back into that mentality of like, I don't know, just like that determination of like, it's gonna be mine. I'm gonna have it. Give me that table. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You had a lot of really awesome tidbits and inspirational experience that we can all learn from and take and hopefully use that in our own lives to become more motivated, become more determined, and just like achieve those goals and build that business that fits our lifestyle. And so thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And just, I guess, tell everybody like where they can find you and how they can work with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miranda, and anybody listening. It's been fun. Like I get so hyper and excited, so I hope it all made like good sense.
No, it
But
did.
good. I love this business, and like I love helping people. So, I really do appreciate being here and getting a chance to speak with your people. And
Yay.
so, yeah, how you can find me is the laptoplifestylebusiness.club.
Thank you so much. And I'm just really excited that you came and shared. Everybody, go to see Angela Will's site, read her blog posts, and check out her membership.